Hi, Vanessa. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Nice to see you too. I think I had the pleasure already to listen to you. That I'll do enjoy it a lot. So
that's
yeah,
great. Where are you
very
based?
Much. So just for the audience, so I just posted that a bit of background. So Gabriel Zanko, so he's gonna talk about the decentralized organizations, and yeah, in relationship with impact investment, which is perfect. And you are a technical advisor and investor, very impactful, founder of MobileyourLife and Urano Capital. And yeah, I really enjoyed the last talk. So looking forward to what you have to share with us. And yeah, indulging it. Just
Yeah,
feel free
thank you,
to.
Vanessa. Thank you, Jeep. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And you need, and apologize the delay. It was a mini confusion, but yeah, let's get going. But yeah, in essence, as you say, I when I always talk about blockchain or decentralized finance and this new, I would say, source of capital, it gets me excited because I always tell Jeep, and when we talk here, that I always love to look back at history in a way, because when you see, you have like two layers, two verticals. One, the history of the internet that also has evolved the last 25 years with the Web 2.0, and now with blockchain and metaverse, everything that's happening right now in a decentralized way. But on the other hand, you see the history of money, how also has evolved, from commodities, then currencies as we know it, and now cryptocurrencies, and the main aspect of both histories or both technologies, let's call it like that, is that it's been shifting from centralization to decentralization. And I would say, and that really gets me excited, is the first time in history that we see technologies or phenomena that are really driven by decentralization. So, and this, Vanessa, when you saw Bitcoin, when emerged Bitcoin, even the anonymous group, it was completely decentralized. It didn't depend on a corporation or a company or a government. And also when you see the blockchain Web 3.0 is not depending on a phenomenon that was born, let's say, in Silicon Valley or Cambridge in UK. It's more a global phenomenon that is taking part on everywhere. And now you see how governments are trying to replicate in a way, or trying to get in the wave of the innovation by, let's say, China, US, UK, Sweden are trying to do CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, with some blockchain layer. Or you see companies like now called Meta that they try to do the project like Libra coin, and in a way they're trying to replicate what Bitcoin in a way gave birth, that of course of a cryptocurrency powered by decentralized computers around the globe, trying to mine, let's say, for example, for Bitcoin, mine the cryptocurrency, and then from there create some innovation. So now I would say in this time until 2030, we have these Paris Agreement goals, the shift to going from fossil fuels to renewable energy. So it's again another transition the planet is trying to embrace, because we have from the centralized to decentralized economy models, from fossil fuels to renewable. And now it seems that both could be together, both could match together. And it's not the first time we heard that, for example, Bitcoin could be, in a way, like a catalyst for driving renewable energy usage, and vice versa. We'll see how that evolves, but in essence, if you tap the Bitcoin network, for example, and also the Ethereum, all these blockchain networks, to renewable energy usage, let's say solar, concentration of power through solar, then it's very interesting how you see decentralized forces being backed by renewable energy. So that's very interesting. So we are now seeing that shift, and also we also have been seeing improvement in the renewable energy usage. So I think that will be key to observe the next few years. Parallel to that, again, the companies are being disrupted. Before, the typical corporation, we know it now, the DAOs, the Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. So these organizations are completely different as we conceive the way of the companies. Now it's like a decentralized force backed by the people who has voting rights, depending on how much they own in or the stake in the company. So you participate very actively in the process of the company, the decisions, and what's that's driving to the future. So in a way, again, you see decentralized currencies powered by decentralized autonomous organizations that can invest or boost, or at least in my space, what I'm really excited, the deep technology landscape, because we see right now in the DeFi, there's around more than 100 billion, 105 billion decentralized money locked in these pools, in this change. So once you see that, you already realize this is already happening, the shifting already happened, and this is not going back, this is not going away. I think it's the opposite. It's continuing to grow. We have to do a few adjustments still on the energy side, on how the governments will play. We see a mix. It's a very complex mix from governments like Salvador putting Bitcoin as reserve currency, but on the other hand, governments trying to leverage the blockchain with CBDCs, still trying to regulate the cryptocurrency. So we still yet don't know what will happen with governments, how they will merge into this innovation. And the question would be, are these governments or corporations going to help boost the growth in the decentralized market? Are they going to, in a way, stagnate the growth, or what will happen? And I think that's the thing we will see in the next few years. What I see is that it's still growing, the decentralized space, so heavily and so fast that it doesn't matter how the government will play a role, because at the end it's like it's inevitable. I mean, this will continue to grow and you cannot force it to stop, because again, there is no one country or one nation that is creating this. It's global. So I think that's the key part. So with DAOs and the ability to raise capital through, and this is not new, the last 4 years we have seen how companies try to raise through coin offerings, ICOs, IDOs, any type of raise that involves a token. But I think now with the growth of DeFi and the interest of the institutional capital into these pools can really, for example, just let me give you an example. Here in Latin America, for example, banking system is quite weak and also very corrupt. So, for example, saving accounts, I believe, are going to disappear completely, because even if you have a wallet in a DeFi protocol and you have your money, it doesn't matter how much it is, and you have your money staking there, getting some interest, is already better than the saving accounts you have in the banks here. So that's like a tiny example of how things will disappear, and especially in emerging markets, because people really resonate here in emerging markets, because they don't have bank accounts, they only have the mobile phone. So it makes sense to them to have a wallet and just take the money there and not depend on a bank. But that also is going to the institutional level and the investor. When you see and you are creating a fund or a vehicle that they are not interested anymore in locking the capital 10 years in a VC, when you can have it in these decentralized pools with cryptocurrencies that are very liquid, and it doesn't make sense, or at least not to all of the strategies, to have your capital locked in a fund for 10 years just to wait for a potential exit in a traditional way, like let's say an IPO, right? So again, you see how things are merging, and I think it's also the way of working. Humans are working from home after pandemic, and also in a more horizontal way. It's not so vertical. Before was more the corporations or the companies trying to, in a more hierarchical way, vertical type of a structure. Now you see, and DAOs give you that example of more horizontal type of a relation in the business, in the work, and I think right now the technologies we're seeing, NFTs, metaverse, also renewable energy space, are very complex and they need a lot of capital. So part of my thesis is that you can, in order to help them, I'm not saying that fully will be through the DeFi or the DAOs, but to help boost these type of technologies, like let's say green hydrogen or the space technology that is quite heavy, you need to tap, or we need to tap into the masses. Basically, we need to tap into the masses and help tap into this pool to get capital, and also create DAOs that, you include people. You want to see people included. Once you see people included and they raise capital together, then you can help the innovation in a new way. It's not the way we have seen before, venture capital, they raise money, governments, grants, and you boom the technology. I think it has to be a combination, and that combination is already happening. The thing that I see it is that right now is mostly focused still on blockchain software innovation within the ecosystem. And I was mentioning this to you the other day. If we tap a pipeline of, let's tap into these decentralized pools, that is basically a new universe of possibilities, and funded off the chain outside the blockchain to a scientist, to an artist, to a real company that is not even developing blockchain, but is developing technology. And let's say my focus especially is for the transition to fossil to renewable, then we'll start to see something very, very interesting, very magical, I would say, because you're basically tapping into capital that is global, decentralized, not depending on governments, to fund real innovation in the planet. And it doesn't have to be blockchain, it could be other technology. So that's what I was saying. I think DAOs could be one of the pillars of that, of that vehicle, of that speed, of that, driving of the technology. It's still very early days, but you have seen it already with artists, right? And with the non-fungible tokens, the NFTs, the way to tokenize your art in a way is basically tapping your art, or let's say your work, into these decentralized models, and boom, you see how it's the first time you see independent artists making real revenue, trying to, gaining more exposure in a global way. So that's just a tiny example of how innovation can be driven by the decentralized model. And I wouldn't stick to art only. It could be music, and again, renewable energy, the focus to impact. I think that's a great source, right? So I think that's kind of like the direction. I think the things are shifting, and again, you see through history how, and like Peter Thiel says, like the 0 to 1 innovation, you see money is been evolving in ways we couldn't imagine, like even 10 years ago, right, with Bitcoin. The same with the internet, right? The Web 2.0 was like the social media. We never thought, boom, the Web 3.0, VR, metaverse, plus blockchain, all integrated together to interact. So I think we're barely in the beginning of this, and it's quite exciting. So I don't know if you have some questions, Vanessa, or maybe the audience would love to hear.
The audience did. So I think I'm gonna go from the last to the beginning. It's easier to follow, I think. Let's see. 1 to 0 innovation. Yeah. Can we hear any of your most favorite Web3 projects?
Sure. So, for example, I received recently a project that is also in the early days. It's called Parallel, and they are creating, in a way, they're creating a metaverse project, which in essence is similar to Decentraland. I love Decentraland. That's one of my favorites. And they're creating something similar to Decentraland in a way that you can also own virtual lands, but also backed by real lands in the planet. So you're in a way owning in the virtual world, but also owning real estate for example, in Costa Rica or Colombia or global. But then they will create new jobs in the metaverse. Plus that, new opportunities in the metaverse will create opportunities again in the real life. That's what I get excited when you see the two ways, not only the one way. Exactly. So I would say Decentralized is one of my favorites. Yeah.
That's very cool. The other question we have here from Anke is like, when you say decentralized organizations may also use other technologies than blockchain, which ones do you mean?
Yes. So for example, I would say, interesting, that's a good question. I would say all that is related to energy. I would say one is green hydrogen or solar, which is not new technology, like concentration of power, or water treatments. These are, let's call it like that, maybe not the most new technologies, but again, they need capital to push the innovation in those fields. For example, also food technology has been growing so much right now with the fermentation, smart proteins, how can cultivate fish outside the oceans. That's already happening, but still they need a lot of innovation. One special technology that I'm very excited is even in the nuclear with thorium, the element, and the creation of the small reactor of thorium that can really create way more energy clean instead of because solar and wind are not enough, no, for the transition. So I would say you would need nuclear to really boost the transition. And for this type of projects, you need from the hundreds of millions. And that's when I see decentralized pools, DeFi, the source of capital, also space technology. There is the moon economy, and you will see everyone talks about going to Mars, Elon, but I've been talking to scientists recently, and they say, well, the first step would be the moon for many reasons, even to going to Mars, but also the LEO station and the NASA missions to go to the moon have some interest because there are minerals in the moon that we need in our planet to the nuclear fusion. So moon economy, space is super exciting, but again, you need hundreds of millions. So we cannot wait until NASA or big corporations do the work. You have to be also plugged by the decentralized energy. So I would say space tech, solar, hydrogen, and nuclear. AI would be interesting to see what happens with AI because it's quite centralized. AI is completely the opposite of blockchain. It's very, centralized. So we would see. That's interesting to see how it emerge.
Yeah, very good. There was as well a comment I want to highlight that it was about the .com bubble that when it happened, whoever just kind of made it become game changers. And yeah, that may happen the same in this technology. That
Agreed,
you have a boost and then suddenly break, and whoever really stays there, they're really true innovations.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah.
And yeah, so from my case, when you were talking about some those technologies that we need to advance, like one of them is green hydrogen. I believe in the right context is very good. Yeah, I just wanted to share that one of the things that I just read in the Financial Times is hydrogen price transparency will help fuel a green revolution, which I do believe so. So, if we create transparency of the demand, that you actually know where it comes from and you can actually help to grow those technologies that are cleaner. I'm a true believer on that. But how do you see this? How do you see we could perhaps even accelerate it more?
Yeah, that's a good question, especially because these, as you say, green hydrogen and also the nuclear are very complex in the terms of regulation, and you really need to get involved the governments. It doesn't matter how much you innovate, let's say the technology, even if you, let's say, source the capital in decentralized pools, again, you will still need the central party to help you because there is a heavy regulation. So it might be not, I wouldn't say a stop that, like the government will stop you, but again, you need to find, I would say, jurisdictional or governments that are really shifting. You see some governments are already shifting and they understand the play. Actually, not to promote any government, but for example, you see in UAE how in Abu Dhabi they really understand the play of energy, and they are already doing this nuclear innovation there, plus the regulation of blockchain. So eventually, one government will take the lead, and then other governments will have to, kind of like follow, because otherwise, I wouldn't say they will disappear, but they will be out of the play in a way, But it's very complex, especially with this energy transition that are very mostly played by the government the last 60 years, 100 years. So you need to, that's the most exciting part, how the governments will transform. Let's call it like that. I wouldn't say disappear because we still need some type of state, otherwise.
I have another one tie in there, just only 1 minute, so I'm just conscious with time. But I see, Brett, you have a question. If you want, please feel free.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hi, Gabriel. Great to see you here.
Great to see you, man. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, no, it's really great to have you here. Yeah, decentralized autonomous organizations is their concept in itself is in some ways it's new, and in some way it's not so new. So, one of the early precursors might have been, crowdsourcing. And if we think about the emergence of Linux on the Unix system, as an example, or some crowdsourced content management systems like Drupal or Joomla as examples. And, to some extent, they've had quite limited success compared to more centralized businesses that really understood how to build brands and how to build marketplaces. So, to some extent, DAO could be considered to be quite an untested terrain. And so the question is, are we going to see more of the same thing where, DAOs develop amazing communities and lots of innovation, but ultimately fail when they hit the marketplace, as we've seen in other similar organizations, because they get beaten by organized, centralized organizations that have more capital? Or is now the time for this DAO phenomenon to thrive? I mean, what are the challenges in DAO, and how can we beat out organized, well-capitalized, centralized organizations?
It's a very good question, Brett. And also I thought about that. And yeah, it's true. You see so far the innovation being driven by centralized forces, right? I think this is the time, I agree. And it's still an untested field, but I think actually this is the time to really test it and grow it, because once you see the growth, and again, it's not DAO, but the NFT force, like a drive to innovate art, for example, I would test the DAOs. The thing with DAOs, and you see, is like when it's everything decentralized, it might be also, it might get messy in the growth of an innovation, because also centralized companies do something very well. They take the lead and drive the force to something, right? Whether it's social media or whether it's technology. But the thing at the end, and we have seen how the reputation of centralized forces has been, declining so heavily, and humans are like, in a way, getting the sense of this is not working as we thought. I think yes, DAOs is the best time to test it out. But the question would be, how much percentage would be centralized? How much would be decentralized in the innovation from now to, let's say, 20 years from now, 10 years from now? I don't have that answer, because still you see how centralized companies can really help you in the boost of the innovation until some extent. And that's, I think we have to test the DAOs the next few years. I think I'm bullish on the DAOs, but I'm not bullish yet on fully decentralized organizations all over without any central party. I think that might be even anarchical in a way, or too much libertarian, and then also gets messy. The important is to create the markets. So yeah, good question. We'll see. But again, I would say DAOs, we have to test it out right now for sure. That's the time.
Thank you. Well, I mean, we'd have a very deep and dedicated discussion about that very subject, because it's quite enormous. But I can see we've pretty much run out of time. Vanessa, thank you so much for being a terrific interim presenter at the World Impact Forum today. We've had a really tremendous run-up of speakers over the last, this is our 20th, I believe, our 20th session, 21st session. And so much thanks and gratitude and love to all the presenters. Gabriel, thank you so much for being here today. And for all the attendees that were a part of today, it was really special and fascinating. We learned lots of different things from different speakers. We had, Heidi, a fascinating novelist who shared her story and journey as an artist, and a whole range of, we had Julius, who presented the precursor, a 101 to blockchain, an introduction to staking for good. It's just been really jam-packed with really great content. So I just want to thank everyone on this call for being here. And if anyone who's on the recording, who's watched some of these recordings as well, thank you so much for participating. We hope this is the first of many impact forums where you can really start making a difference and chipping away at our essential mission, which is to create a sustainable civilization in our lifetimes. Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Brett, G, Vanessa, and hopefully we'll talk soon again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye. Bye, Vanessa. Bye, G.
Bye, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers.